In another video, we talked about routing protocols. We said that it was one of three ways that routers learn about how to get from point A to point B, learn about routes to fill the routing table. One was the static route, in which an administrator types in a route. One is directly connected routes, in which the router learns because it sees all of the networks. And then the other is through routing protocols. Routing protocols help us to get more distant routes, more than just what we're directly connected to. There are two big classes of routing protocols, distance vector and link state. Distance vector is the simpler one. It simply knows how far is it to get to the network that I need to get to. And in fact, it comes in two parts, distance and vector. Vector means which direction, distance means how far. So in other words, if I go this direction out of router A, I can get to B in one hop. So that's all it knows. Even though this is a very slow ISDN line, it will just choose that route because it says, hey, it's only one hop away. It does not build an internal map of the entire network. However, in link state, each of these computers knows about all of the other computers. It knows about all the other networks. It has built an internal map of the entire network. And by looking at that map, it can say, hey, in order to get from A to B, I can go this very slow route, but I can go 3 hops through this very fast route, and I can get there much, much faster. And so it's capable then of finding a faster route. Now there are some basic differences, and I'm not going to go into detail about these differences, but let's take a look at some of the basics of them. The distance vector just learns from neighbors how far. Each router says, hey, I can get there in 1 hop, so you can get there in 2. Then that router says to the next router, you can get there in 3, and so forth. That's the Bellman-Ford shortest path methodology. RIP and EIGRP are famous for being distance vector, although depending on what you're reading, EIGRP is sometimes called a not necessarily link state, but a hybrid, because it has some of the characteristics of link state. But Cisco squarely makes EIGRP a distance vector protocol. The link state protocols use something called Dijkstra's shortest path. In other words, it's looking at things like the speed and jitter and delay and all of that. And it's very fast to converge. In other words, it can build its map very, very quickly. OSPF, ISIS are very typical protocols in that. There is something called the path vector, which is kind of a hybrid, and we're not really going to get into that one. That's a little more advanced topic.